Okay, so good day, ladies and gentlemen. 大家好. So 今天 we're going to talk about lesson 4, transportation, 交通. So what can you do after this lesson? First, you can able to talk about the method of travel. Second, to compare things. Third, tell which is the most or the best. Okay, we're going to learn a new adverb. And finally, to describe a distance between two places. So, the first part will be 生词. Okay, I hope you guys already checked out the Quizlet set. Okay, if you haven't, you may scan or click the link, the following link, to check out some transportation that we have in Mandarin. Okay, 交通工具. Okay, you better check it out now because I'm gonna ask you questions. Okay, done. Let's move on to the next part. Do you remember this formula? Masa, watak, lokasi, activity. Yes, it's the same formula that haunted you from the previous semester. Time, character, place, and activities. Alright? So basically, this is the basic formula for you to write sentences in Mandarin. The basic syntax ataupun susunan ayat. Okay? So it's very simple. For Mandarin, you usually write what you have done first. Okay, for example, today I eat at the canteen. Hari ini saya makan dekat kantin. So hari ini we have the time. Saya masa makan dulu ke sampai kantin dulu? Yes, kita sampai kantin dulu kan. So dalam bahasa Mandarin, instead of hari ini saya makan di kantin, dalam bahasa Mandarin anda akan tulis 今天我去食堂吃饭. 食堂 kantin dulu, baru 吃饭. Okay, so try to guess. Kita ada satu ruang kosong. We have an empty slot here. Try to guess, what is this? Before you go to that place, what you should write? Yes, it's the method of travel. Okay, so contohnya, Husin is riding a bus to attend a class at the college today. So, before you reach the place, what you do is riding a bike, right? So, in order to sort this sentence, okay, the character is Husin, riding a bike, the method of travel, attend to the class is activity, the college is a place, and lastly, you have today, which is a time. In order to sort this sentence into Mandarin, okay, it will become 今天吴昕要骑摩托车去学院上课. Okay, 今天 hari ini today. 吴昕 character. Okay, is you can translate it as 要 nak ataupun 想 ingin. Riding a bike, the method of travel. Okay, 骑摩托车. 去 pergi to. Okay, 去 pergi. 学院 to the college. Okay, 学院 college. And finally, you have the activity attend the class, 上课. You see, the syntax ataupun susunan ayat dia agak beza dengan bahasa English, even in bahasa Melayu. Both are different. As you remember this one, every different language have different syntax. Make sure you follow the correct syntax according to the language, which in Mandarin is masa, watak, lokasi, activity, time, character, method of travel, place, finally, activities. If you forget, this is the logic. You write what you have done first. For example, 今天 Husin, kita mesti ada orang, watak dengan masa dulu kan. And then before you reach the college, you ride a motorcycle. 骑摩托车去学院. And before you join the class, you reach the college first. So 学院上课. Okay, you write what you have done first. Understood? Alright, let's move on to the next page. Okay, we talk about the method of travel. And before we talk, we ask question. Okay, how do you travel to Thailand, for example? How do you travel to Thailand? 你 怎么样去泰国旅游？你怎么样去泰国旅游？ So, how do you ask how in Mandarin? Yes, it's the word 怎么样怎么样 Alright? So, the formula that we have learned, we are still using the same formula. Masa, watak, lokasi, activity. For this time, we don't have the time. Okay, kita dah ada masa, kita hanya ada watak, method of travel, 去 place and activity. For example, okay, ni awak. 怎么样 kita boleh tukar kepada, okay, we can change to whatever method that we have learned. Okay, for all, this is a simple diagram. I hope you guys have familiar if you have done my Google form exercise. Okay, if you haven't, please do so. You also have the word qi, to ride. Okay, qi ni biasanya dia merujuk kepada kenderaan ataupun benda yang kita menunggang pakai dua kaki, macam ganggang sikit. Okay, of course you can ride a horse, qi ma. If you have a cat big enough for you, of course you can qi mao. Okay, if you have a cat big enough. Okay, and finally you also have the word 走路, which is walk. Okay, so character, method of travel, 去, and then of course you have place. It can be any place, it can be a location, it can be a country, and finally activities. Okay, so for example, 你怎么样去泰国旅游? How do you travel to Thailand? 我坐飞机去泰国旅游. Okay, so for the next, we're going to talk about the method of travel. In this case, you want to emphasize on something. Emphasize means that kita nak menekankan sesuatu. So, for example, how do you come to attend the class? 你是怎么样来上课的？你是怎么样来上课的？ So, look at the yellow word here. 来的，来的。Okay, as a Malaysian, you know Singlish, you know Malaysian English. So for this sentence, how do you come to attend the class 1? Ini perkataan dia. We have a suffix. Okay, we have a suffix at the back. How do you come to attend the class? Macam mana awak datang punya? How do you come 1? Okay, and this is a dialect translate to Mandarin. You can add the word 来的 to emphasize. Okay, 来的 to emphasize. Okay, so it's the same formula that we are using, which is masa, watak, lokasi, activity. So this time we have a character. 你是怎么样来上课的? So how do you come? Okay, for example, 姐姐 kakak 是 adalah 走路 jalan kaki, 来上课的. Okay, my sister come to class by walking punya. Okay, so you have to emphasize 来的. Okay, or sometimes you can skip the activities. Okay, if you don't have the activities here, it just become 姐姐是走路来的. Kakak adalah jalan kaki mari punya. Okay, so this is the word. Okay, my sister is come by walking 1. Okay, you have a suffix. Okay, the suffix here is just to emphasize. Okay, it's just to emphasize. Alright, next we're going to compare things. Okay, we're going to compare things. So this is the keyword to compare a things. 比 Okay, if you look at the Chinese character, it represents two persons is standing on each other. Okay, and you know, of course, when a human being standing in with each other, we start to compare. Oh, siapa lagi tinggi, siapa lagi gemuk, or siapa lagi cantik, siapa lagi besar. Okay, we start to compare. So the word 比 is the same word that you use to compare. Okay, for example, in English, you can have the word than. And bahasa Melayu kita ada perkataan lebih. Okay, so in Mandarin, this is the keyword 比. So for the formula, very simple. Okay, if you have done the Google form again, I hope you have done. Okay, so this is the formula: object to compare, followed by the word 比, followed by the word object being compared, and lastly you have adjective. Kenapa adjective ni dia macam aktif sangat tu? Okay, because this one, Lao Shi would like to remind you that the syntax ataupun susunan ayat to compare in Mandarin is slightly different with Bahasa Melayu and English. Okay, the adjective, okay, you must put at the end in Mandarin in order to compare. For example, we have this map and we emphasize that Singapore is smaller than Malaysia. Singapore is smaller than Malaysia. You see the adjective is in the middle of the sentence, right? Even in Bahasa Melayu, Singapore lebih kecil daripada Malaysia. Singapore lebih kecil daripada Malaysia. Kata sifat di tengah-tengah ayat. Okay, but in Mandarin, you put the adjective at the end. Okay, for the sentence will become 新加坡比马来西亚小。新加坡比马来西亚小。小 is the adjective, so we put at the end. Okay guys, so I will give you more example on this, but instead we're using the same example to see the different object to compare and object being compared. This is very important. Okay, make sure the syntax ataupun susunan ayat dia adalah betul. Object to compare, object being compared. Pembanding dengan dibanding. Okay, for information, for you easy to understand, you always put the things that you want to compare at the first. Benda yang utama diletak di hadapan ayat. Pembanding. Okay, so for example this sentence. Okay, Singapore lebih kecil daripada Malaysia. 新加坡比马来西亚小. So Singapore is the object we want to compare, and Malaysia is the object being compared. What if we change, kita tukar posisi, we change the position of these two objects, okay, which Malaysia become the object to compare, and Singapore become the object being compared. Okay, kita terbalikkan, we change the posisi of these two objects. It will become like this. Okay, so does this sentence still make sense? It states Malaysia is smaller than Singapore. It doesn't make sense, right? It's supposed to be bigger, right? Okay, so it's supposed to be 马来西亚比新加坡大。马来西亚比新加坡大。So the moral of the story is, please, when you compare things, make sure the syntax ataupun susunan ayat dia adalah betul. As the example that we seen just now, when the position of the object to compare and object being compared switch, okay, the sentence doesn't make sense anymore unless you change the adjective. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, we will have more example here. Okay, this one, let's do some exercise. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Alright, so the next learning focus is to tell which is the most. Mana satu yang paling, okay, paling dalam bahasa Mandarin. 最 this is a keyword. 最 paling. And then the formula will be adverb plus adjective. 最 is an adverb. 最 is an adverb. So, paling comel, 最可爱. Paling comel, 最可爱. Yang ni Lao Shi akan cuba terangkan menggunakan bahasa Melayu. Lagi senang kita nak faham sebab bahasa Melayu sama seperti bahasa Mandarin. Kata sifat dia tidak berubah. dia tak macam bahasa English. Kalau kita cerita pasal comel, cute, dia akan jadi cutest, cuter. Right? Okay? Dalam bahasa Mandarin, kita tak ada keai saja, tak ada. Kita sebut keai saja. Okay? Bahasa Melayu pun sama, kita tak ada comel saja, tak ada. Kita ada tambah IEST tu untuk cui. Okay? So, instead, kita gunakan adverb paling ataupun dalam bahasa Mandarin, cui, paling comel, cui keai, cui keai. Okay? This is not the first adverb that you have learned in Mandarin. Remember the adverb 很 sangat, 很可爱 sangat comel, 真 sungguh, 真可爱 sungguh comel, 非常 sangat sungguh, 非常可爱 sangat sungguh comel, comel sangat sungguh. And then of course you have the word 最 paling, 最可爱. Okay, so you can see the level is increasing. Okay, the level is increasing. Okay, when you want to describe something, okay, from daripada yang biasa-biasa kepada yang paling, okay, so these are the adverb that you should add. Okay, of course, finally you also have the negative form, which is 不可爱, 不可爱. Okay, we move on to the next one. Okay, which we will have more example here. Okay, answer the following question. Okay, which way is the fastest way to go to the college? 怎么样去学院最快？怎么样去学院最快？ Okay, if you want to convert this into a sentence, okay, so this is the formula. Okay, the method of travel, 怎么样 you place here, and location here. Okay, and as usual, adjective, kata sifat at the end. Okay, next we're going to describe a distance between two places. Okay, so this is a keyword, 离. 离 means the distance in between. The distance in between. For example, this is a sentence. Okay, place 1 and place 2. Okay, adverb plus adjective. Okay, 机场离码头很远. The distance from airport to the port, seaport, is very far. Okay, 离 means jarak. Jarak. Okay, jarak di antara dua tempat. The distance between two places. Okay, 机场离码头很远 means the distance between airport and seaport is very far. 离 means the distance between. Okay, so if you want to form a sentence, if you want to tell the distance between, you use the keyword 离. And how you gonna put that? You put it in between place 1 and place 2. Of course, when you describe it, the normal formula that we use, which is adverb plus adjective, 很远. Of course, if you don't want to use 很, you can use 中固, 真, you can use 不, tidak. Okay, so let's do some exercise about that. Okay, guys, so the next one, we're going to describe a distance between two places, the second part, and we're going to use the keyword 从. I think this is not the first time you see this word. 从 maksudnya dari. Okay, dari. Okay, remember from the previous lesson, we talk about 请问从 place 1到 place 2多远? Okay, how far? When we're asking for distance, how far? 请问从这里到那里多远? Okay, so when we want to describe it, okay, this is another sentence that we can ask, which is 从 place 1去 place 2远吗? Jauh ke? 远 jauh. Kata sifat ya, adjective 远 jauh. 请问从 place 1去 place 2远吗? Tumpan tanya, dari tempat satu ke tempat dua, jauh ke. Alright? So, semasa menjawab, untuk menjawab, perasan tak tadi? 请问你 dia hilang. Kenapa ya? Because remember this, when you answering or you respond to a question, you never repeat the word 请问. Apa maksud 请问? Tumpang tanya kan? Okay, so you never repeat the word tumpang tanya, awak nak pergi mana? Tumpang saya nak pergi jalan-jalan, boleh kan? Alright, so never repeat the word 请问 here. So in order to answer, you can say 从这里去那里很远. Okay, 老师 repeat to ask, untuk tanya. 请问从这里去那里远吗? Untuk menjawab, tak. 从这里去那里很远. Okay, in order to describe a place, this is the formula that we use, which is adverb plus adjective, like just now. Okay guys, so we round up for what we have learned for this lesson. So now you can talk about the method of travel. Just practice the Quizlet set, okay, for the vocab that you want to travel, okay, and then you can compare things, which is the keyword is 比, and then you can tell which is the most, the best. The keyword is 最, and finally you can describe a distance between two places, which the first keyword is the distance in between, which is 离. You can describe from one place to another place, from one place to the second place. The keyword is 从. Okay, let's round up the class for today. Thank you. 谢谢.